Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Connie Purcell, and I will be serving as your worship associate today. Our theme for the month of April is climate justice. As I prepared for this morning, I realized I don't really know that much about climate change or global warming, certainly not the scientific details. Like I don't know about the ozone and the increasing temperatures and what's going to happen at the ocean floor. So I have heard that the polar bears are in danger, and I know the scientists are concerned on many levels. So I did some Googling, and the first thing I found was a collection of comments by climate change deniers, such as, one record year is not global warming. Climate is always changing. What's wrong with warmer weather? And the last one, Kyoto was a big effort for almost nothing. I didn't find those helpful. So then I looked up comments by Bill Nye, the science guy, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and finally Stephen Hawking. So let me share with you some of Stephen Hawking's opinions. He has expressed that runaway climate change is an immediate danger. He has stated that a rise in ocean temperature would melt the ice caps and cause a release of large amounts of carbon dioxide from the ocean floor. Both effects could make our climate like that of Venus with a temperature of 250 degrees. He says scientists must alert the public to the unnecessary risks that we live with every day and to the perils we foresee if governments and societies do not take action now to prevent further climate change. He says that as citizens of the world, we have a duty to share that knowledge. We have a duty. So I look forward to the information that Glen Pascal will share with us shortly. And now we come together in community, supporting and encouraging each other on our spiritual journeys, affirming the importance not only of tolerance, but of acceptance, compassion, and open-mindedness. Welcome to this good place, Tapestry, a Unitarian Universalist congregation. Our minister, the Reverend Kent Doss, is not in the pulpit today, as you can see. He will return next Sunday. Today we have the privilege of welcoming Sierra Club leader and Tapestry member Glen Pascal as our guest speaker. Glen will explore climate change in the larger context of how we live and how we treat each other. Glen has been an activist in the Sierra Club and was involved in advocating for the decommissioning of the San Onofre nuclear power plant. He also has a wide-ranging career as a public official, scholar, economic consultant, and journalist.
Namaste, Amen, and blessed be. When I was asked to speak on climate justice, it reminded me of two famous quotes from great writers. Each of these quotes has taken on a different meaning at a time of climate change. Mark Twain said, "Everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it." Most of us have heard that one. Twain loved to puncture human vanity, including vain talk about things we can't change. Weather would seem to be the ultimate example, but we now know we can change it, and not necessarily for the better. The other quote comes from Albert Camus, who said, among the many sources of injustice, one that is almost never mentioned is climate. Camus grew up on the coast of Algeria in a climate similar to Orange County, and he spent his adult life in Paris, which for all its charm has long gray winters. As a Southern California native, I cherished Camus' quote during the decades I spent in Seattle. Yet today, his words evoke not just individual experience, but the fate of entire peoples. The phrase climate justice can sound puzzling on first hearing. How can a condition that affects everyone create an issue of justice? and yet it does. And I'm looking at just the human part of this, not the flora and fauna of the world. Let's take a look at how rising sea level relates to climate justice. Bangladesh is the largest country most likely to face serious impacts from saltwater intrusion. That nation has a very low average elevation and a very large population. In recent years, it has made remarkable progress in raising the condition of its poorest residents. Cruelly, these gains are now at risk due to climate change. Now, let's consider the shores of San Francisco Bay and the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta right here in California. Those areas are barely above sea level. Cities including Sacramento, Stockton, and Petaluma may seem a long way from the ocean, but their elevations are 25 feet or less. Suisun City, east of Vallejo, looks like a typical California suburb. Its official elevation is 6 feet above sea level. Given the similarity of condition, how does sea level rise relate to the issue of climate justice? The Northern California metropolis is one of the richest areas in the world. In recent years, it's been working with the Netherlands to deploy state-of-the-art systems of canals, seawalls, tide gates, and other public works that will cost billions of dollars. Bangladesh simply doesn't have the money to do that. In the words of Bill Ruckelshaus, the first administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, only when countries reach a certain level of economic development do they have the resources to invest in environmental protection. Not only economics, but regional geography contributes to climate injustice. Our state is a clear example. Oceans are bad for sea level rise, but good for minimizing future warming. The coastal areas of California will see much smaller temperature changes than inland areas. And the coast is cooler to begin with, making it a doubly desirable place to live. The coastal climate drives housing costs to a level only the affluent can afford, as many of us here can testify. By comparison, the San Joaquin Valley and San Bernardino Riverside are areas of affordable housing, lower incomes, and greater future increases in days of extreme heat. The reality of climate pricing of housing involves climate justice because it connects average income levels with personal comfort in the environment. It makes good sense that the impacts of climate change have thoroughly gained our attention. We need all the time we can get to respond to what's coming. Recognizing these links raises our awareness, but we need to go deeper. Climate justice needs to be seen as part of something broader, environmental justice. Environmental justice includes the impact of pollution as well as warming, and strangely, the focus on greenhouse gases has pushed to the side another public health concern. The same carbon-based fuels that cause global warming also pump massive amounts of particle pollution into the air, resulting in thousands of deaths that would not have otherwise occurred in our region and other smog-prone cities. Lately, Los Angeles has been taking a close look at the health effects on residents who live within 1,000 feet of a freeway. A lot of construction is underway in these locations, which tend to be more affordable because they are next to a freeway. Even as far away as the Navajo Reservation in New Mexico, residents have a level, in Arizona, residents have a level of lung disease more typical of a coal mining area than the high desert. The cause is a giant coal-fired power plant. A focus on environmental justice brings an important political benefit. It is a great uniter. Environmental justice is a great uniter across income groups, ethnicities, and neighborhoods. Among affluent people living in coastal areas are those next to the diesel pollution at ports. Similarly, smog affects not only industrial areas in East Los Angeles, but invades high-end neighborhoods in Pasadena and the San Gabriel Valley. The Angeles chapter is the largest in the Sierra Club, with 46,000 members in LA and Orange County. By the way, rapid growth in the last few months. Last year, we began outreach in diverse communities affected by environmental justice issues, and we got a great response from a wide range of people at all income levels and variety of ethnicities, attending events whose theme was, "We're all in this together." If you care about environmental justice, what can you do? There are at least 3 ways you can make a difference. The first way is not for everyone. If you are energized by policy issues such as cap and trade versus a carbon tax, or whether natural gas is a bridge in the shift from coal and oil to clean energy, or is itself a dirty fuel, or whether electricity microgrids would serve residential areas better than megagrids, if these matters engage you, then go for it and become part of the policy debate. But if your eyes glaze over at the mention of these alternatives, you can still do 2 of the most important things. One is to stand for reducing pollutants by supporting higher standards whenever they are proposed. Talk to your friends about legislation and ballot measures. Vote for candidates who support a cleaner environment. Once they are in office, write them messages on behalf of tougher laws. Higher standards are the key. They drive the whole process. Standards are what force the political system and the marketplace to find solutions. Technical experts and lawmakers can debate which approaches to take. We don't all need to get down to the details of that debate, but we do need to stand for standards. Broad public support for action on behalf of less pollution is the bedrock, especially if we're willing to pay a few dollars more each year to move forward, which Californians have done. How about climate change deniers? When someone says they aren't sure whether the evidence is in, I quote my former boss, Washington State Governor Dan Evans. He was a member of the first National Academy of Sciences panel on global warming in 1994. Evans said, "Even if we can't prove every point, it is only prudent to minimize the human impacts until we know for sure." Today, we are much closer to knowing for sure than we were in 1994. To the deniers, I would add the evidence that green energy has created a boom industry here and around the country. It does not cripple the economy. It adds a new sector. And companies are finding it's good business to use less energy per unit of production. This brings me to the other crucial way we can all help. Thanks largely to the Environmental Protection Agency, this country is a world leader in limiting the amount of energy that goes into each dollar of output. That may come as a surprise, but the problem is we are less than 5% of the world population, and we generate almost 20% of world production, virtually all of which is consumed here at home. To take a single example, the most popular US-made passenger vehicles are not autos. They are light trucks. Their engines are relatively efficient for vehicles of that size, but size matters. The lowest average horsepower of US private vehicles was way back in 1982 and has been climbing ever since. What to do? And now I get to the part of the message that most suits the community and sanctuary that we all feel when we come here. Recently, Governor Jerry Brown sounded themes from his Small is Beautiful days back in the 1970s. Those of us who are old enough to remember know how he talked about a change, a paradigm shift in our attitudes. He said the things that matter are human relationships, nature, beauty, and art. The best things in life are free. There is no lasting satisfaction from material consumption, but only from what feeds the heart and spirit. There's poetry here. As we affirm the best things in life are free, we not only have less impact on the environment, we become more sensitive to the well-being of our fellow beings. This transforms our world from one of environmental exploitation to one of environmental justice. We will be happier, and the planet will be better for it. We can shift our steps from the shopping extravaganza of South Coast Plaza to the timeless paths on Santiago Peak. We can gain the high ground where human striving is connected with knowing the earth. In honoring our blue planet home, we honor all who share it with us. By affirming reconciliation over domination, we forge a bond not only with the earth, but with our fellow human beings. The outcome we face is uncertain and unknown. Yet for each of us, doing our part brings the peace of a promise kept. Our best strategies may not be enough to sustain human habitation and a complex ecosystem on a small planet in a vast universe that reaches beyond our comprehension. Yet, by keeping faith with our part in the mystery of the cosmos, we will qualify for the wholeness that comes from acting honorably toward our fellow human beings and the home we share. Amen.